Welcome to Mythic Codex Legends Unveiled, the place where mythology, folklore, and legend come alive. I'm your host Eliza, and tonight we'll uncover the stories that have captivated humanity for thousands of years. Turn the page, our journey begins now. Tonight we're heading to a small town that became the center of one of the strangest mysteries in American folklore. A creature with glowing red eyes, massive wings, and a presence so unsettling that people still talk about it decades later. Some believe it was a monster lurking in the darkness. Others will believe it was a warning. And some think it was something beyond our understanding entirely. This is the story of the Mothman, one of the most famous urban legends in America. To understand Mothman legend, we have traveled back to 1966 and visit a small town called Point Pleasant in West Virginia. At the time, Point Pleasant was a quiet place, the kind of town where mayor headlines were rare and most people knew their neighbors. Just outside town sat an abandoned area known as the T&T Zone. Years earlier, during World War II, the area had been used to store explosives and military supplies after the war. The buildings were left behind, and nature slowly reclaimed the land. Old concrete structures sat hidden among the thick trees. Fog often settled across the ground at night. Even before the Mothman sighting began, many locals already thought the area felt strange after dark. Nobody knew it at the time, but the T&T Zone was about to become famous around the world. Everything changed on the night of November 15th, 1966. Two couples were driving through the T&T Zone when they noticed something unusual near one of the abandoned buildings. At first, they weren't sure what they were looking at. Standing near the structure was a large figure, unlike anything they have ever seen before. Witnesses describe it as a gray color and much taller than the average person. But the detail they remember the most was its eyes. Two bright red eyes glowing in the darkness. The creature appeared to be watching them. For a moment, nobody moved. Then the figure suddenly shifted. Huge wings unfolded from the body. That's when panic set in. I mean, I would be panicking too if that thing moved and had huge fucking wings and two bright red eyes. Who wouldn't? Yikes. The couple immediately sped away. Most people would assume the creature would simply disappear in the woods. According to the witnesses, that's not what happened. As they drove away, they looked behind them and saw the creature following. The figure lifted into the air and began chasing the car. The driver pressed harder on the gas pedals. The car continued gaining speed, yet somehow the creature stayed with them. Witnesses later claimed it followed them for miles. Image that moment. You're driving down a dark road in the middle of the night. You glance in the mirror, and those glowing red eyes are still there, following you, keeping pace, getting closer. It's easy to understand why the witnesses were so shaken when they finally reached safety. I mean, who wouldn't be shaking? A huge figure with red glowing eyes and huge wings were chasing them for miles. Like, I'd be shaking too if that thing was chasing me too. But the good thing is that they were in a car, so if that thing attacked, they would have been sheltered. Hopefully. Like, we don't know how strong this thing was. Nobody did. When news encounter the encounter reached local newspapers, many people expected the story to disappear after a few days. Instead, something surprising happened. More witnesses came forward. People from different parts of the area began reporting similar encounters. Many described seeing a large winged figure standing in the fields. Others claimed they saw it perched on rooftops. Some reported seeing it flying silently overhead before vanishing into the darkness. The details varied from person to person, but certain features appeared again and again. The enormous wings, the unusual height, and the glowing red eyes. One thing many people don't realize is that the creature wasn't originally called Mothman. At first, newspapers simply referred to it as a strange winged creature. As public interest grew, journalists looked for a name that people would remember. Eventually inspired by popular comic book heroes like Batman, the creature was given the name Mothman. The nickname spread quickly, and once it had a name, the legend truly took a life on its own. Sometimes a story catches fire, and in Point Pleasant, that's what happened. See, something that looks this terrifying, I don't know if I would wanted to call it Mothman, because moths aren't really all that scary. I would have probably wanted to call it something scarier, but Mothman definitely is a memorable name. But this is a terrifying creature. Like, they call it something more terrifying. I don't know. But that's what they called it. They called it Mothman. Over the following months, reports continued to pour in. Dozens of people claimed to have seen Mothman. Some described feeling overwhelming fear before they even saw the creature. Others reported strange lights moving across the sky. A few witnesses claimed electronic devices behaved strangely around the time of the sightings. Whether those reports were connected or simply coincidences remain a mystery. But every new story added another layer to the growing legend. The people of Point Pleasant couldn't stop talking about it. Mothman had become part of everyday life. Then came the event that would forever connect Mothman to tragedy. December 15th, 1967, a year later, the Silver Bridge connected West Virginia and Ohio across the Ohio River. That afternoon, without warning, disaster struck. The bridge suddenly collapsed. Vehicles plunged into the icy water below. 46 people lost their lives. The tragedy shook the entire community. Families were devastated. The town was left searching for answers. Was Mothman a warning? After the bridge collapsed, many residents began looking at the Mothman sightings differently. For over a year, people had reported seeing the creature. Then one of the worst disasters in local history occurred. Some believe The timing couldn't be ignored. They began wondering if Mothman had been a warning, not a monster, not a predator, a warning, a sign that something terrible was about to happen. The idea spread quickly, and perhaps the strangest detail of all is that after the bridge collapse, the sightings nearly disappeared. Of course, not everyone agreed with the supernatural explanation. Some researchers believed witnesses may have mistaken a large bird for something much more frightening, like the sandhill crane, is often mentioned because of its size and reddish markings around the eyes. Others believe fear and rumors may have influenced people's perceptions. But many witnesses insist that explanation does not fit what they experienced. They say the creature they saw wasn't a bird. It seemed intelligent, aware, almost as if it was watching them. Paranormal researchers have offered their own theories. Some believe Mothman was a supernatural being. Others think it could have been an interdimensional visitor. And there are even those who believe it was connected to forces we don't yet understand. To this day, nobody has been able to prove exactly what people saw. So, if you saw a huge winged creature with red eyes, would you connect it to a sandhill crane? I definitely wouldn't. I've seen sandhill cranes, I've seen them in the field. They're definitely not as ginormous as people assume them to be. They're skinny. They're kind of like they're more of like a tan color, not a gray color that they were describing Mothman to be. And sandhill cranes have the red around their eyes. They do not have red eyes. They were describing Mothman as huge grayed creature with huge wings and bigger than a human being and with glowing red eyes. That is definitely not a sandhill crane. We still don't know what it is. It has a name, but people still don't know can't explain what they saw. Or maybe they thought they saw it, but they really didn't. Maybe it was just an illusion. We will never know. And maybe that's why the story has survived for so long. Nearly 60 years later, we're still asking the questions. What are the people of Point Pleasant seeing? Was it a giant bird? A paranormal entity? A warning of disaster? Or something we've never been able to explain? Whatever the answer is, the legend of the Mothman continues to capture imaginations around the world. Because sometimes the most fascinating stories aren't the ones with the answers, they're the ones with mysteries. And that's the story of Mothman, a creature that appeared without warning, terrified an entire village, and disappeared just as suddenly as it arrived. Whether you believe it was a monster, a messenger, or simply a misunderstanding, one thing is certain: the legend is still alive. And somewhere on a lonely road late at night, if you happen to look into your rearview mirror and see two glowing red eyes staring back at you, you might just understand why the people of Point Pleasant never forgot. Here ends today's episode. I hope you enjoyed listening, and I hope you listen again. This is Eliza, and you are listening Mythic Codex Legend Unveiled. Thank you for listening.